All right, good evening, everyone. You are listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pilled News. We've got a very special guest in the studio today. With me right now, live, is Tiffany Fitzhenry. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for asking. So, Tiffany, I knew about you for a long time because of your activity on Twitter. And, just in prepping for the interview, I went and looked, and you've blown up, much bigger than I ever realized. And so I thought we could talk about some of that stuff. I mean, I know that you started out in Hollywood as a screenwriter. Is that right? So, guys, the biggest news right now is the return of Q. Our favorite Anon is back. 8kun is online, and this is super fantastic for all of us here on the Anon movement and all patriots across America. Now, it's just in time for the latest impeachment saga, so we can cover everything and all the other crap being thrown at us by the deep state. The Q drops are back. It could not be a better time to be alive, and I think that's worth the celebration. Now, right here, we've got the Q coin. It is unique. There's nothing else like it. It's a celebration of the mission and all those who joined in the struggle to make America great again. You can see the intricate and detailed craftsmanship from here. It's American-made, and it's full of symbols and sayings of the struggle. It can also be used with AR technology to bring the movement alive. Now, the holidays are coming up, and it would make a perfect gift for the special patriot in your life. It's different. It's the Q coin. So go to greatawakeningcoin.com and use the code REDPILL78 and get 30% off. Once again, that's greatawakeningcoin.com and get 30% off by using my special code REDPILL78. Please help support my channel by supporting my sponsors.
Yeah, I started out in Hollywood in a long time ago in the early 2000s working in development. But then I went back in 2009 after I'd gotten married, had kids, and came in with a bunch of different projects, and things really built from there. So got to see that inside world from a couple different perspectives and vantage points, and hence why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, definitely. So when did you first start to realize that something was up in LA? I mean, did you always know that things were not quite right, or was there a specific instance that kind of jostled you awake?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. No, not really. In my early days, working in development and all that stuff, I didn't, I just thought like everybody else did. I'd gone to film school. Here I was. This is the system that exists. This is how movies are made. This is, you have to follow the yellow brick road, go to Hollywood, do your thing. And I wasn't so intrigued once I got there. I wasn't so blown away, right? And really kind of it wasn't until I got into these rooms as a writer and somebody who was creating pilots and TV series and things like that, where all of a sudden I started to notice a lot of things. I started to notice the power structure, and I started to notice, okay, there's a whole concerted effort to make sure that the writer never knows how powerful they are, because we're all sitting here having this meeting, whether it's, say it's at NBC, and it's like, okay, because of something I wrote, this project now exists and we're talking about it. But there's this huge, strange, concerted effort, and you can read all about this all over the place. Writers are just crapped on, right?
Yeah.
So you created this thing, unless you're Stephen King, right? And you're in the club.
He's the worst too.
Right, you've got to be in the club. That's the difference. And so, you've created this thing, and it's like this huge concerted effort to sit down, be in the corner, don't say anything, just sit down and shut up, and you're lucky to be in the room. I was even told you're lucky to be in the room. I was like, I'm going to be the executive producer. I wrote this thing. I don't even understand what you're saying. You're lucky to be in the room. And I'm not a self-righteous person. I just was like, this is a gaslight. I know, as a writer, I'm just a study of what's happening around me, right?
Yeah.
And so I just was like, there's something happening here. Something weird psychologically is going on. And then that was one of my first clues. And one of my moments where I was like, what, was driving with my then manager at the time. And he was saying that this meeting I had just had at ABC, which was great, by the way, and was only supposed to be 15 minutes, which was a lot longer than that, over an hour. The head of drama development's chasing me down the hall. We're best friends now. And we're driving to another network. to have another meeting, and he was like all sullen, and I was like, what's your problem? And he said, he was so super frustrated with me. And I was like, what? And he's like, you have to say you're willing to do anything. They're waiting to hear you say the words, I'm willing to do anything. And I was just like, record scratch. Like, I thought I was here to pitch shows. Like, I don't even understand what you're saying. And he said, and I'm talking the head of drama development at ABC. We're going over to NBC. They're waiting to hear you say you're willing to do anything. And I was like, but they all want to meet with me because they love my work and they want to make my shows. So there's a missing ingredient here. I have to say I'm willing to do anything. Yes. Like, this conversation, I was like, clarify this for me, because I'm me, and like, I'm a writer, I ask questions, and that for me, I was like, what is this place, and what does that mean? And then of course I went on to have like some Harvey Weinstein kind of incidences, and I was just like really starting to understand the system. And the system is, we have to own you. If we're going to give you qualify, you can write, we love your work, but we need to know we can use you. And it's not the other way around. We're using you. You know what I mean? And we're in control, and we have to own you.
So not just are you willing to perform favors, shall we say, in order to get the part or the job or whatever it is, but they want to make sure that they can have total control over you, maybe compromise you in a certain way, so that then they can use you for whatever thing they want to do.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that people whose names people who are, especially people who are coming out and telling you political stuff, those people work at the behest of other people. Those people are elevated in a system that requires that they be compromised and controlled. It's just, Hollywood is a limited number of people. It's a closed power system, and there always has to be something that holds a closed power system together. And in this case, it's different types of sexual secrets, different types of, compromising, whether it's nudes. The further I got up into these echelons of rooms that 99.9% of people will never get in, the request for nudes started. I mean, it was just like, send nudes, send nudes, send nudes. This is from, my agent. And I'm like, are you just a pervert? Like, I don't understand. And then you start to notice, okay, Jennifer Lawrence back in 2015, 2016, I think it was, she wasn't really speaking out about politics like when everybody was. And then all of a sudden, all these nudes leaked of her online. And it was like, she said, vote for Hillary. And then she goes, I'm quitting acting to save our democracy. And then you didn't hear from her. So what is that? What it is that there are a lot of great actresses. There are a lot of great, talented people who could direct or do all these different things. But they only let James Gunn become James Gunn. They make Bryan Singer into Bryan Singer instead of really nice guy X over here who's not gonna do anything.
My friend John Paul Rice. Wonderful person. Director, very talented.
Very talented filmmaker. But soul firmly intact and not for sale.
Yeah.
And so you go, okay, what it is that you have to have the talent, right? But you also have to be willing to do anything. Whether it's take nudes, send nudes, tweet about pedophilia, you're signaling to these people. George Clooney on the set of Roseanne was leaving naked pictures of himself around.
What?
Like little breadcrumbs of compromising information, because he knew how the system worked. He'd already been really schooled in all of this.
So just to clarify, when you say that, it's not just George Clooney being a weirdo and leaving naked pictures around to be, suggestive to the ladies on the set. Like, that's like a signal to powerful people that, like, hey, this exists, go ahead and pick it up, and then I'll do whatever you want at your behest.
Well, I mean, look at Jeffrey Epstein. We're starting to understand how the world has been built and run. And the world's been run on blackmail, compromise. There are powerful people who are in control of all of these industries in this pyramid system, in this pyramid world that we live. And they can have anybody be their puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand that that's how it works, you want to be the best puppet you can be.
Yeah.
If I understood how Hollywood worked and I had the penchant to, if my personal axiom was just to be rich and famous, I would know exactly how to do that. And I've got the writing skills to do it. But I would rather turn around and tell the whole world what's actually going on, because it's like, that is not my makeup. And we're living in a time when I think the whole world's going to wake up and see the emperor has no clothes. You're going to see this is what George Clooney is. This is what Ellen DeGeneres is. This is what these people are. They were just the people who, yes, they were talented, but there's millions of talented people. You also have to be willing to do anything.
I'm immediately reminded of a couple of different stories. Number one, there was hidden camera footage of Angelina Jolie hanging out with some friends, talking about this very thing. The fact that they had to have compromat. They had to have something on video, and it was some very disturbing stuff. It wasn't just, being nude. It was also, involved sacrificing a snake, performing some ritual, some type of pain initiation thing. And then you've got stories like there was a woman who had worked on, I believe it was ER with George Clooney and another person, and she had come out some years later and said that there was like some level of abuse on the set. And I think she named George Clooney, and then she just happened to die shortly after that. Very scary. And then Ellen DeGeneres had her ex-girlfriend. She was killed in a car accident, and then the next thing you know, Ellen DeGeneres is the biggest female comedian in the world at that time. I don't know where she stands now, but it seems like there's like this string of this pattern of behavior that follows all of these people all throughout there. Have you had any experiences like that in Hollywood, like people that you knew personally, that you watched get sucked into this world?
Well, I know a few people who were struggling in their career and being like, I think I'm going to join Scientology because for my career, because they know that that's how it works. A director friend of mine was, contemplating doing that for his career, because it's part of the way Scientology works is that you give compromising information about yourself. That's how the whole religion works. You have to audit, and you have to go and, record all your sins basically to these auditors. You have to say really terrible things that you've done or any embarrassing things, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then if you continue to do that, what happens is you become, Will Smith. It's an intelligence tactic. Mm-hmm. This is how you make an asset. It's not that complicated. It's like what Jeffrey Epstein was doing and how he was doing it for powerful governments and intelligence agencies. It's because these are age-old tactics of controlled influence. But the world finding out about it is the part that makes it all not work. When you see these puppets for what they are, and you realize, oh wow, what'd you do to get, you know what I mean? And I think that's Hollywood's big fear right now, is that we've all had this like awe of them. Oh, Tom Hanks. Oh, Steven Spielberg. Oh, these people are just gods. And it's like, no, they're no more special than you or me or anyone else.
Less.
They happen to be willing to do things that possibly we weren't. And they were elevated by an enormous system that did everything to put their face in Times Square. You don't have somebody putting your face up in Times Square, because you're not working at the behest of powerful people.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the world waking up to all this is terrifying for Hollywood, because the emperor has no clothes, Are
you beginning to see any real world evidence of that? Like people in Hollywood starting to realize like how close they are to this complete awakening?
Oh, I have a lot of people reaching out to me because I'm kind of I'm like planting my flag and saying, you know what, this is that system that existed. It's the system that Harvey Weinstein built. If you want to plant your flag in that system, and you're seeing him walk in with the walker, and are you reading the tea leaves? Like a lot of people are reading the tea leaves right now going, all right. And I get calls from people going, we're all watching, and we're going to wait and see how it happens, what happens to you basically, and how it goes for you. And then I'm like, well, that's fun. That must be fun for you. That's great. But it's like, people are, trying to figure out a lot of people want to speak out, and I don't mean to make a joke, but like, you know, when I came out and did what I did, you know, there were stakes for me that people don't walk away from certain things. Like, so I had a TV show called Peaches that's literally sitting on the desk of the head of Fox and Disney were in the middle of their merger at the time. It was 2007, the end of 2017. And I'm sorry, no, the end of 2018. Okay. And this project was sitting on the desk of Rob Light, who's a partner at CAA, sitting on the desk of the head of drama development at Fox. Has a huge star attached to it. My series I'd written, you know, 100% on my own, just getting ready. It had already gone through all these different paces. And I'm like, I knew what was going to happen. I knew it was going to be like, okay, Tiffany, this is great. Here you are again with a 5th project, big stars attached, all ready to go. You just have to do XYZ or do the thing. Like, they're just waiting, you know, to do it, for me to do that part of it. And when I came and I spoke out, I knew that I'd be walking away from any chance, you know, of that happening. But I also knew I'm going to have to do something I'm not going to do. So I might as well try to build something new and try to expose the whole thing and build something new. Well, I didn't, at that time when I came out and spoke, I didn't have any infrastructure, right? I didn't have employees that were counting on me, other writers that were counting on me. But a lot of these people, and I say this, I guess I want to say almost like in their defense, these people that haven't spoken out, some of them who contact me, a lot of them have like more infrastructure than I did at the time. Do you know what I mean? It's not just a decision that affects just me, like mine. It's a decision for them to speak out that's going to affect lots of other lives and lots of other people. So there's some of that going on. And I get that. And I know that, but I do know that a lot of people are going to be coming out and telling their stories. And one in particular that I've already talked to, and we'll be dropping that next week.
Oh, all right. Sweet. Well, keep an eye on the website. This is an excellent time to tell people where they can go and find all of your information. I know you've got TiffanyFitzhenry.com. You've got your Facebook, your Twitter. Tell people about where they can get your published material.
Yeah, I mean, go to TiffanyFitzhenry.com, and that, you know, I just put out articles every now and then when something catches my eye that I want to write about. There you can link to all my social media. You can find how to contact me. You can, you know, I have, you know, trying to build outside the system here and trying to build something substantial that can offer people a way out of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And right now, you know, we have one power system over our stories. And as a culture, we should realize that's crazy. Yeah. And that we should also realize that our stories are what we are. We are nothing if not our stories. That is what we are. And Hollywood has domain over all of it. And so what I'm trying to create is a way out from that centralized control system to start to decentralize in a big way, in a meaningful way, in a way that can compete with the Netflix and the Sonys, ways for people to create content and get it out, you know, starting with just making my own stuff that, you know, Hollywood wanted, but making it with the help of people. So I do have a Patreon, and I've got some amazing patrons over there and people who want to help in that effort, who really want to have an alternative to Hollywood and to have an alternative to this system. And so I have that as well. People can go over there and check that out.
Well, I just want to make sure that we put that in the beginning, because I know people don't always get to the end of the videos. And it's incredibly important in my eyes for people to, like us, to be supported. I mean, like whether it's just watching and sharing the content or participating on Patreon and actively supporting you monetarily, because this stuff does come at a cost. You know, I mean, like there's only certain paths that you can take in life once you decide to start walking down the yellow brick road of truth, if you will. Right. So, you know, I mean, what does your day-to-day look like right now? I mean, are you actively working on any projects, or do you have something specific in mind, like a platform to help people so that they can move on past this Hollywood system?
Well, my day-to-day right now is meeting with different people. A lot of times I'm trying to assemble the people of, you know, the people who have the money, who believe in this, but who have like the real money. So I'm meeting with investors, right? Things like that. creating content. I'm always writing. I just wrote a new script this summer. I can never stop writing ever. And trying to figure out which of my projects to, really put into development, and really trying to get the funding to do that. So bringing together a lot of different things. And then of course, like creating content for people. So people love to, have someone like me help them discern. So creating YouTube videos, I have a podcast that I do. So my day to day is like, a little exhausting, right? Trying to do all these different things, but
I understand.
Trying to help take down the old system and help build the new system. Kind of like all of us right now.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It seems to me like the real power comes in the numbers that Hollywood has. I mean, not just money, but like just the number of people. The system has been built up over so long. So if we're ever going to break through, we've got to have something alternative with a large number of people who are willing to band together and come out and speak. How many people do you think there in Hollywood would be willing to break out of this system? I mean, I guess I'm wondering, how many people are there like completely willingly and just have so little self-respect that, they have no problem with what's going on, versus how many people really want to just live a different life?
There are a lot of them who would leave if they could. And there are a lot of them who wouldn't. I mean, there are a lot of them who are right where they want to be, right in this soulless system of, control and all. They don't know. A lot of people don't care about that stuff. But to me, we do have the numbers. We can and will have the numbers on our side, because there are so many more people. Hollywood is a very small, actually, system of people, and to have a system where everyone has to be compromised and owned, and you have to have it. It's like the thermodynamics of the truth versus a lie. The thermodynamics of the truth are effortless. It's zero. It just is. You let it out. It does its thing. A lie has to be created, constructed, maintained. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
yeah.
So it's why when the fall happens, and the fall is happening, that it's big. It's Epstein big. It's got a dragnet around it that takes down. It's not just Epstein. You know what I mean? It's going to be like bowling pins. It's like that with Hollywood, because it's all being held together by something. And the thing it's being held together by is, crimes and pedophilia and, just things that are not okay by any standard. So to me, the people who would like to leave Hollywood, the people who wouldn't sell their soul, these people are assembling, and they are absolutely assembling right now. And so that's another part of this role that I find myself in, is to be this beacon, to say, you guys, it's okay. Come on. I don't know that we're all going to work together on everything, but it's just clearing a path, right, for people.
Now, you brought up Harvey Weinstein a couple of times. He just entered into a settlement with his victims. I believe something like $47 million. And apparently for every dollar that his clients get, his lawyers get $2, which is to be expected in this world. But do you think that this judgment against Harvey Weinstein, who was arguably one of the most successful and capable predators we had in Hollywood for a long time, do you think that that is going to have any impact on what's happening there in Hollywood?
Well, I said a year ago in an interview, and the guy gasped, and it was on an LA radio station that I said it. I said Harvey Weinstein was doing what Harvey Weinstein was designed to do. He was compromising assets. He wasn't just this predator in the same way that Bill Cosby wasn't just this predator. We need to start to understand what these people were, what Jeffrey Epstein was. He wasn't just this sick pedophile. Yeah, he was a sick pedophile. But what was he really doing? He was compromising assets. So that's what Harvey Weinstein was doing too. And you think about the level and the effort that went into destroying Epstein and that whole crazy, him dying, suicide, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's a similar behind the scenes, oh shit, happening behind Harvey Weinstein. And this settlement that you talked about, it's not settled. It's only been, it's a possibility.
Oh, it's okay.
A possibility, and a lot of people are saying, from what I've read, there's a good chance that it won't happen. The victims are arguing against it, and this is also just the civil.
Oh, yeah.
He is still standing trial on January 6th for rape and for 2 counts of sexual assault. So that's not, and which he stands to spend life in prison for if convicted. So people are up in arms like, oh, Harvey's just going to settle, blah, blah, blah. But this is just a civil. It's about, 50 or some actresses who have a class action, I guess, whatever, civil case against him. And it's annoying to think that he could just settle and his insurance company will pay for it and all that stuff. Two things. A lot of people don't think that's actually going to happen. It's not set yet. And he also still has the criminal case.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Well, the way you've phrased it is interesting, because I never really considered that Harvey Weinstein was, running an operation in the same way that I thought Jeffrey was. But now that you say it out loud, it makes a lot of sense. I remember when Harvey Weinstein, one of his first court appearances, he was brought in carrying a book. And I can't remember the title of it, but I thought at the time that it was a signal to his co-conspirators. When we're talking about this operation, I mean, what do the levels look like? I mean, what part does each cog in the Hollywood machine play? How is it set up?
Well, so there's a lot of compartmentalization, just like in a military operation. And you can think of it like that. There are people at the top who know what this all is. So just look back over the last 20 years and just look at the Oscars. Every year you had Harvey Weinstein sitting with that year's it girl, right? Whether it was Gwyneth Paltrow, then it was Jennifer Lawrence, the whole different slew of them. So what Harvey was doing was canonizing these people and creating a system whereby, so when you go look at all those nudes that leaked of Jennifer Lawrence, they're leading up to her big breakout, right? In time succession. She's younger in the pictures than she is getting an Oscar. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is all part of how it works. And she's sitting there with Harvey Weinstein. And when you become Gwyneth Paltrow or Jennifer Lawrence, there's influence. You have influence. Ariana Grande can send a tweet of a smiley face, and it gets 1 million retweets. Right? So what do you think that influence is when she says, I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders? So the whole point is, when you asked about the structure, and I'll get to that, but the whole point is what we don't understand and what we never think about is that we think politics is like the big deal. And because politics is the circus and it's super noisy and all this, but politics is like the thing at the end of the river that washes down all the stuff, right? Culture is way upstream. Culture is up here. Politics is way down here. We think politics is super important, but the smart people are shaping culture because they know that culture it all trickles down to affect politics. So the people who are shaping the people who are shaping culture are the people like Harvey Weinstein, right?
Right.
And so that's how it works. And so he worked for Disney essentially for 30 years. Disney owned the Weinstein Company. So all this stuff that he was doing, he was essentially doing it on behalf of the Disney Corporation, which is another thing people never think about, and all the links that the Disney Corporation has to this whole nest of the way that this all operates. And so you look at somebody like the chairman of Disney, George Cook, right? His name is George Cook, I believe, was on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane the same week. He was on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log 3 different times. The same week he's promoted to chairman of Disney Studios.
Ooh,
that is
week. Interesting.
February 2002. February 15th, 2002, he's promoted. And February 18th, 19th, 20th. So the 23rd, he's traveling with Jeffrey Epstein on Lolita Express.
Wow. With
Geraldine Laybourne, who founded Nickelodeon, hired Dan Schneider. Like, you cannot make this stuff up. So how does it work? What is the structure? We're looking at it.
Wow.
Yeah, these people are installed. They're installed.
What about the role of like agencies, like managers and agents?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, the role, even in my own career, it was my manager and my agent, who, I haven't named and have no plans to name, but that were the wranglers, the handlers. They were handlers. And it was sending me to meet with certain people who were going to make me certain propositions and put me in certain positions and had the power to do certain things, but, would, ask sexual things of me type thing. And it was always these agents and these managers who were arranging all of this and telling me how to act and what to do and blah, blah, blah. And, also send nudes. I mean, it's unbelievable. The story that I have coming out this week has to do with a lot of different big players. One of them is a current big CAA agent. And, they ascend for a reason, and they get into these positions for a reason, and they know exactly how it all works. They're part of this system, and they are really the handlers. They're the facilitators of all of this abuse, in my opinion.
What even is the difference between a manager and an agent? I mean, every time I hear somebody talk about them, they seem like they're interchangeable. Like, I mean, you could do with one or, maybe do without both.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's much more fun because then you can just do whatever you want, say whatever you want. They function such as like the manager is really doing a lot of the busy day-to-day work of, what are you writing? What are you working on? Here's what you should be working on. Oh, here's some, literally I would get directives from, they would come from William Morris or any of these other big agencies of basically all of the agendas that these different shows to write about different topics and agendas that the networks would buy. So if I wrote a show about transgenderism, the network would buy that. And in 2013, I got one that said, if you write a show that has to do with 20 or 20 somethings being incarcerated, ABC Disney is looking for a show like that. It's like, you don't think there's agendas? We're literally given lists of them to write about, right?
Yeah.
And so the manager's working with you to, cultivate, okay, what are you writing? What are you doing? Da, da, da. And then the agent swoops in. So then when I have, okay, here's a script I wrote, da, da, da. The agent gets it. And the agent goes, all right, let's send it to this person, that person, this person, because set up the meetings and blah, blah, blah. Really, you could have one person. I mean, I don't understand why it is set up the way it is. It's all bizarre, but I think it's all evolved over time in order to most control the talent, to most control the content creators, because of course they need to control the content to control you.
Yeah.
I
thought it was really interesting what you said when we started about writers being told that they're worthless. That seems like the most counterintuitive thing that I can possibly imagine, because without them, there is no content. I mean, like, how is it that these people are so powerful that they're able to convince what I would imagine to be the most vital piece of content creation is the people who are actually making it?
Well, a lot of it is because the power, and this gets at the heart of everything that I want to do, because the reason that even works and is able to occur, because it's completely nonsensical, you have nothing if you don't have a script, is because it's a closed power system of scarcity. So it's only this many movies are going to get made. Do you want yours to be one of them? Okay, you better jump through that hoop, jump that hoop, that hoop, that hoop. Also, we're going to treat you like shit. We're never going to let you know how powerful you are, because it's like that old saying of you never let the horse know how powerful they are. That's why you've got a little girl who can drag a horse around on a little lead rope. And, it doesn't know how strong it is, right? That's the whole point of the writer. If the writers ever knew, and they've got, every meaningful action that's ever been brought against Hollywood has always been brought by the writers.
It's the writer's strike. I was thinking about that.
They know. And what's happening right now? Last year, every single WGA writer fired their agent.
Really?
Every single one of them. Because the agents won't sign a simple agreement that says that they won't basically, I was going to say prostitute, but it's exactly the same thing. Packaging is something that's been increasing and increasing. So these agents and these agencies package their writers with other talent. So it dilutes them, but it makes the other people, it brings them up. But also, they've also been producing. And it basically makes your agent your boss. But your agent's supposed to be your advocate. And then all of a sudden, if they're the producer on the show that they're also trying to get you hired on, now it benefits them to pay you less money. This is the only person who's fighting for you to make any money.
Wow.
It's the land of crazy. And so these agencies were being asked by the WGA to sign some guidelines that they wouldn't do certain things, and none of them would sign them. The big 5 agencies, CAA, UTA, WME, Paradigm, and they would basically not do it. So then the WGA had all the writers fire all their agents, and they did. So there's an intense power struggle going on right now, even just within that system itself. But because it's this closed power system of having like, okay, well, you get to get in and all of you people don't get to get in. Hollywood is, it's a beast to try to break into. It's crazy. And if you just do it, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I gotta do anything I can do to stay in this position that I'm in. I'll do anything, right? And I was like, screw that. Who says they'll do anything? Who says that out loud?
People will do some weird things for fortune and fame. I think especially if they've had a taste of it and, maybe they're told that they're on their way out or something like that, in order to recapture that glory and get back to whatever they were doing at their heyday. So what happened? I mean, if everybody fired their agents and there's only 5 big agencies, was there another agency that was created? I would imagine there's a gigantic opportunity there for people to hire all the writers in Hollywood.
Gigantic. Well, and that's a bit of what's happening. There was an agency, and it was a smaller one, and I think they were pretty good. Like, who was it? They really swooped in and they took out a big page in Variety, and of them signing the guidelines of the W, which is exactly what I would do. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, we'll protect you. Yeah, we'll do what agents are supposed to do, right? You're literally their advocate. That's your whole job. So it's basically, a huge opportunity for people. But I don't even think anything in this system should even exist anyway. So to me, this is just part of the destruction of all this system, because the lawyers swooped in, and the lawyers are really all a writer really needs is a lawyer. And so then they're all in cahoots. The lawyers really, with the agents and with the managers, they all hold each other in place in this nest of like, so all of the agencies were putting all the pressure on the lawyers, like, you better not represent them, just don't cut us out, basically. And then so it was like, you're never going to be able to do, it was like the biggest Mexican standoff you've ever seen. Everybody just like jockeying. It's a mess, as it should be, because it really is, What
about the protection of children? I mean, that is a huge issue in Hollywood, and it kind of seems like an oxymoron, because whatever they have set up in Hollywood, it seems like even if it's openly stated that it's for children's protection, like it's exactly the opposite. I mean, you mentioned Dan Schneider, that's one of the most insane cases I've ever heard.
The only thing and the only way in which children are protected is through like labor laws, but none of these labor laws do or say anything about all of the sexual abuse, the underage drinking. These children are plied with alcohol from the earliest of ages. The story that I have coming out next week has to do with a child star, and it's an unbelievable story. The positions that these kids are put into, the grown-ups that they're surrounded with, nobody is checked out or background checked. And in fact, you've got big companies like Hollywood Records and Disney knowing of these issues, knowing this person is an accused pedophile, this person has accusations against them, and knowing of incidences that happen, and nothing happens. Continuing on. It's almost as if without pedophilia, there is no Hollywood. It's almost as if it's all by design to, one of the best ways to create a mind control slave is to sexualize a child, because they dissociate, all of that stuff. It's almost as if Hollywood knows that, because all of these stars, all of these kids, all of these Disney stars, these Nickelodeon stars, they are surrounded by pedophiles. So either Hollywood knows or they don't. Seems like they know.
I would say that they probably do. It seems like there has always been kind of a symbiotic relationship between Hollywood and the intelligence community. You mentioned, the creation of culture, the intelligence communities have had their fingers in that pie for decades. And the best and easiest way to do that is through film and television and music. Have you ever spoken to Amanda Bynes?
No, not her. I haven't. I would.
I would really like it if you reach it out to her. I mean, like, I follow her and we've messaged a few times on Twitter, and she seems like the perfect person to speak to about this stuff, because I mean, we've kind of watched her life implode in real time. You know, I mean, she was directly a part of like the Nickelodeon Dan Schneider machine over there, and it was real sad what they did to her. And you know, it's almost like you can watch the trajectory of a child star. You know, watch them as they're used when they're small and innocent, and then as soon as they start to grow up, they're immediately overly sexualized and thrust into kind of like this, you know, bombshell image, you know, straight out of being a child star. You know, Britney Spears is another one that comes to mind. Christina Aguilera. I mean, so many of them through the 90s, which, I mean, I noticed them in the 90s because I was a high school kid, you know, I saw it happening.
Well, she's one I would love to speak with. I have been reached out to by Aaron Carter and a bunch of other ones, and Bella Thorne, and she's retweeted my stuff and the things that I've said about her. That, you know, these people are all victims, and the crazy thing is they have all the power. If I could tell Amanda Bynes anything, it would be that she has all the power, and they've been so gaslit and so mind controlled and so spiritually enslaved in every way possible that they don't realize that. And that's what I was telling this victim that I've spoke with, this story that'll be coming out next week. It's you literally have all the power, because this is everything that they do not want. They don't know how to deal with this getting out, and all of you coming out at once, and everybody starting to just come out and be like, oh, this was done to me, that was done to me, this was done. It's going to be like the Epstein thing. You know what I mean? It becomes an absolute flood, and powerful people just scramble like cockroaches because it's all been unrighteous. And particularly when it comes to what's been done to the children in this industry, every single person who's in this industry right now, whether it's Meryl Streep or Reese Witherspoon or Jennifer Aniston or Tom Hanks, if they are not vocally speaking out on behalf of children in this industry, I don't know what to say.
They're complicit.
They're it's like not speaking out about everybody having to go have sex with Harvey Weinstein in order to be in a movie. If you did that, you made it so everybody came behind you had to do it too. Not only that, every one of these people who I mentioned knows about what goes on at these parties. They know about what goes on to children. They know about the powerful executives, the powerful agents who are pedophiles. And they just take the next movie and they just do the next thing. I mean, I'm really talking to the Meryl Streeps of the world and the Julia Roberts of the world and these giant megawatt stars. If you're not actually coming out and talking about what's happening and trying to make it better, your friends are pedophiles and you're protecting them. That's the only conclusion I can draw.
Do you think that this is the kind of abuse do these people have to endure this kind of abuse throughout their entire career? Or is it like you have to, you know, go through the gatekeeper, compromise yourself, and then you're in the club and, you know, you don't have to basically debase yourself any longer?
I've heard about different systems. I've heard of a system, sort of an iCloud uploading system, where every so often, this is for big, powerful executives. This is for Hollywood types. These are for like the Clooneys of the world. Every so often, you're basically forced into or have to upload different stuff about yourself.
Wow.
Pictures, videos, different things like that. I know that those things exist. And I've been told by several people that that's how a lot of these upper echelons of the banking and all these, you know, if you're going to become the $25 million CEO, the really powerful people above you need to know that you're just their puppet. You know what I mean? And so you have to continually be giving compromising information about yourself. I think in the case of these Hollywood people and these actors and actresses, I don't really know. I mean, I think whether they grew up in the business, if you grew up in the business, like someone like Drew Barrymore, she has handlers from the time she's little. She's being sexualized, and my guess is, I think she even admitted sexually abused from the time she was little. You're so spiritually and emotionally and mentally compromised as a person that I think they just keep handlers around you And these are the people who control you. You're easy to control. You're not hard to control when you're a fractured mind, when you're a dissociative person. You don't even know who you really are, what's your core personality. That's what you look at when you see Amanda Bynes. It's that her mind has been fractured. What is her core personality? I'm not sure she even knows. Those people are not hard to control. So I don't know that you have to keep compromising those people. You just, but if they start to wake up, if they start to get control of their lives and they're still a Bella Thorne, now you've got yourself a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They'll influence people, so it's so sad, that this is the system that we have. And these are the people whose names we know. And these are the celebrities who have they construct our matrix, right? And this is, I think it's a sad existence.
What about Bella Thorne? Because it was maybe 6 or 8 months ago she came out. I think it was on like a British talk show. She was promoting something, and she admitted that she had been abused, and I believe by multiple people. It was immediately buried. I never saw anything else about it. I saw it initially, and I was like, oh my God, it's happening. People are going to start talking. And not a single news outlet covered it.
And what she said was so telling. It was from the time she was 6 years old, she was abused every day. This person, one person in particular, was given access to her every day at her home, in her room, drove her to set, was on set with her. I know somebody who did, who was on a few episodes of Shake It Up with her and told me about, this, because she hasn't named the person. And it was basically her handler. It's like her, manager, handler kind of person. And everybody around her knew, and nobody did anything. So you're surrounded by producers, writers, directors, other actors, other agents, other people, other kids. Everybody knew that this abuse was going on. Bella Thorne was anorexically thin in those years. She was falling asleep on set every day. Of course, she was being abused all night, and she was terrified, and she didn't sleep. This is years that this went on, and everybody around her knew, and nobody did anything. And, people hate on her now because she's 21 years old. I don't know how old she is, but, and she just directed a porn, right? Sex is all she knows. Mm-hmm. So people need to just, if you find yourself having something to say about a victim and the way that they're living out, just stop. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of things to worry about in this world. Bella Thorne's, probably going to have to spend the rest of her life healing and recovering. Yeah. If she ever really comes to fully grips and to fully say, okay, you know what, this is the abuse that I suffered. And, these people just need our support. They Absolutely. Need our 100% support and our 100% love, because, this is really going to be, I think, a whole generation of healing. It's going to take a generation.
Not just the people in Hollywood, but the people affected by the culture produced by Hollywood. I mean, it has almost decimated Western culture and society. We've got just the complete destruction of the family unit, complete breakdown of spirituality. People out there with... It's appalling, I mean, what you see in society and what people identify with as being normal now. I'm like a unicorn, whatever, people identifying as weird stuff. It's not okay to be a human being anymore. You've got to be something else. And I think that's a symptom of like the emptiness that people feel because they're being filled up with this just like vapid cultural goo that's coming out of Hollywood,
And that right there is the reason why I'm working so hard for the second part of what I'm doing, which is because we need stories that are going to restore our spirit. And I'm not talking about like, oh, we need faith-based stories. No, we just need good stories to actually sow goodness into our culture. And we need a lot of it. We need music that's not demonic and satanic. And we need a lot of it. And we need, because stories can heal us. Stories can, this is what stories do. They tell us who we are, what we've been, where to go, what to build. Stories are what a culture is, and they are what a culture will become. And so there's never been something more profound to affect us. That's not changing. What's changing is, can we change who's in control of the stories? Can we change the fact that, and things like YouTube almost threatened to change it. But of course, right? Because anyone could put information out there. Anyone could put stories out there. Anyone could do anything. And now, of course, that's being reeled back in. But it's because of how powerful it is. But the reason I'm working so hard to do everything I'm doing is because I want to get to the point where I can enable people who don't have to be compromised, who don't have to be controlled. Every movie is going to say no children were harmed in the making of this movie. Literally, you see that no animals were harmed, right? What about children, right?
Yeah.
No children were harmed. Nobody had to sell their soul in order to be a part of this movie. And there are no agendas in it from powerful people. It's just art that's being created by other humans that you might like and might uplift your spirit. And we need a lot of it. We need tons of it.
We're lacking in good quality morality tales,
Yeah.
Teaching people how to be people. All right. Well, Tiffany, we're almost out of time, so I wanted to make sure that we talked about your book series, because I knew that you were a writer, but I didn't know that you were actually a book author. So tell us about that. I've got it pulled up here on Amazon.
So yeah, people can check that out. It's available everywhere. I got really sick of everything I started to experience in Hollywood and really hit a really low point with realizing what this system was, and decided to write this trilogy and self-publish it. And that became a big issue, right, within my people. And they were like, are you crazy? No, this is what I want to do. I don't want anyone to control anything. I just want to write what I want to write. And this is a story about a girl who, it's sort of like a young adult sci-fi fantasy type.
That's cool.
Series. Yeah, it's very cool. This blood test comes where they can discover how many lifetimes you've lived. And so she is determined by this blood test to be the oldest soul in the world. And the number of lifetimes that she's lived makes everybody think she's like the Antichrist. And then it's got like basically take religions of the world, a lot of different, just all kinds of different stuff from all over the world, from every generation, throw it into a blender and make this crazy creation of this girl who, has gone on this journey to basically try to awaken the world, actually. So there's, these people who've had their control over the world and they're doing all this stuff. So it really has echoes of the Great Awakening all through it in a crazy way, though I was done writing it by 2016. So I wrote it 2016, about then. And
pre-awakening, that's great.
I wrote it pre-awakening, but when people read it, they're like, oh my God, you knew. I'm like, kind of, I don't know. It's so weird. And people get nuts because I had the covers designed by this artist. There are these websites where you can have a contest, basically, like design,
I know about Fiverr.
Yeah, crowdsource. And I, met this artist, and then she designed the covers, and I loved them. And people are like, there's an eye on the cover of your book. I'm like, I get it. These are my characters' eyes. I didn't know then what I know now, about that kind of stuff. I didn't know, all this stuff that we're waking up to. I've literally just same thing with everybody else. And so people can rest assured and know that I published them myself. This artist who I've never met, who lives in Europe, created them, and she's a young girl, and she's not in any secret society, and neither am I. People are like, but there's an eye on the cover of your book. I'm like, I can't have them redesigned because I don't have enough money to do that. But it doesn't mean anything. It's
sometimes an eye is just an eye.
I know. Sometimes we can get too woke.
Yeah, it's I see that all the time. People reading into decodes, trying to, break down numbers or taking symbols. We have to remember that symbols are eternal. They have existed since before they were co-opted by the cabal and turned into something evil. So, I'm kind of all about taking that stuff back. It's like taking our power back from these people who have stolen it. So more power to you for putting an eye on the cover of your book. Eyes are beautiful. I love eyes.
I know. So do I. So did I. And I was like, this is great. I love these covers. And then all of a sudden people are like, I'm like, why are people freaking out of us? But yeah, no, it's we do have to take these things back in a way that, because people can look at me and know I'm completely independent. And that's really the bottom line is anybody controlling these people? Are their agendas being put into things by powerful people? Mm-hmm. That's what matters.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. All right, Tiffany, we'll tell people where they can find you again. Where's the best place to go?
The best place to go is tiffanyfitzhenry.com. There you can see everything. You can find everything. But Twitter is where I'm definitely most active. That's Tiff_Fitzhenry on Twitter. And I mentioned before, I do have a Patreon, which I'm really trying to build to do all the things that I said need to be done. These things, even just to make documentaries at a high level, to tell the stories that need to be told. I appreciate any help that people want to give to that effort. And that's where that money goes to: creating stories, creating documentaries. The story that I have coming out this week was completely done, filmed at a very high level, everything as it should be. As people so say Amanda Bynes comes and says she wants to tell her story. I'm going to fly her to me. I'm going to film it in 4K with 3 cameras, with sound quality professional, lights professional. I'm going to spend a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
Of my own money, which is what Patreon helps me to do. So that is super, super important. I have a YouTube channel where you can find me. Everything's under Tiffany Fitzhenry. So you should definitely find me on YouTube as well.
All right, excellent. And we will have a link to all of your various pages, your Patreon as well, and that will be in the description of this video below. Well, Tiffany, I've had a great time talking to you. I can't wait for you to come back. Thank you very much for all you do. And we'll just have you back again sometime in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to.
You're very welcome. All right, we'll see you guys.